So I finally got around to playing more and more Pokemon Legends Arceus this week after constantly putting it on the back burner and it getting deeper into my backlog. Well, with the release of Bayonetta 3 coming up, I wanted to clear as much of my Switch back catalog as possible, starting with Pokemon Legends. And well, let's just say I have some interesting takes. Let's get into it. So in 2022, I would not consider myself a huge Pokemon fan. I couldn't even tell you what Pokemon are new. I don't know anything about Mega Evolutions, the competitive scene, any of the new mechanics, any of that. However, every now and then the Pokemon company will drop something that catches my attention from a gameplay perspective in the form of the side games. Now, example of these games are games like Pokken Tournament, which is essentially a Pokemon-based fighter running on a simplified Tekken engine, and new Pokemon Snap, which is a sequel to the N64 Classic and others throughout the years. Now, when I was younger, coming up in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was all over Pokemon. Everything from the card game, the movies, the video games obviously, and with Gen 2 being my absolute favorite, and the anime series. It was a good time back then. After Ruby and Sapphire, I pretty much fell off Pokemon until X and Y dropped on the 3DS, and even then, it wasn't enough to bring me back 100%. Fast forward today, Pokemon is bigger than ever, so how can Nintendo and the Pokemon Company keep things fresh? Well, in comes Pokemon Legends, a brand new series of games that seem to fully give fans what they wanted, an open world 3D Pokemon adventure. And honestly, even I was hyped when the trailer dropped because I was also curious to see how an official game would tackle this formula. Now, of course, you can definitely see and feel the Breath of the Wild influence, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So let's jump right into this review, and for full transparency, I am not done with the main story just yet at the time of this recording, but I feel I played enough to form a solid opinion, so let's get it. The game opens up with you being dropped in the past of sorts. You do have the option of choosing between male and female and skin tone, but I feel they could have done a lot with a legitimate character creator. Your goal in this game is to essentially capture loads of Pokemon for research purposes because in this timeline, Pokemon are still pretty new to the world and humans have not figured out how to integrate them in their daily lives, unlike other games that take place in current times. I love that concept. This is definitely an interesting setting where things are more primitive and not as high tech. I mean, your Pokédex is essentially a notebook and Pokeballs are literally craftable, so yeah, I like this. This game starts off with a very long tutorial with no option to skip. This part honestly dragged on for me and bored me to tears. I typically don't like tutorials because I like to figure out how to play on my own, but to force players in an hour-long or longer tutorial was torturous. It makes me not want to pursue repeat playthroughs. Once the game opens up, we really start to see what this game is truly about. So let's talk about the gameplay. So Pokemon Legends is a game that focuses more so on exploration and catching Pokemon instead of the turn-based battles that we all know and love from the main games. Now, don't get me wrong, the battles are still here and pretty much plays the way you would expect, but it's not the main focus. Your focus is to explore these areas, find Pokemon, complete different research pieces and side quests. Now, that's the name of the game. I did find catching Pokemon fun because of how many ways you can go about doing it. If you want to go the stealth route, you can. If you want to go traditional and weaken them first, you could also do that as well. So it's pretty cool. Now, I know many people were complaining about how the game looked, and honestly, I like the art style of the game. It is not the best looking Nintendo Switch game, but the graphics were not a big deal to me personally. Now, I did feel the open areas for the game were a little bland. Yes, there are some nice sights here and there, but I found myself kind of bored exploring around. I don't know what it is. Very similar to Monster Hunter Stories, you have access to Pokemon that you can use to traverse around the world faster and access more of it. This is a welcome addition because your player's base speed is not that great, and Pokemon in the wild can and will attack you, so you better make sure your dodging is on point. Just like traditional Pokemon, your team will gain experience and evolve when they hit a certain point. But again, since catching Pokemon is the focus here, that is how you will gain the bulk of your XP. You do have a home village which acts as a hub. You can buy new items and clothing for your character, craft items. That's right, this game has a crafting system, and talk to the locals to pick up side quests. Pretty standard RPG stuff. I wish this game had multiple towns and villages with different themes, but we have this one and it's pretty easy to navigate and you really can't get lost. You can also teach your Pokemon new moves and swap your party out here as well, so you'll probably spend a lot of time in this village. So Pokemon Legends. Look, when playing the game, I can recognize all the great ideas here, and I think Game Freak really has something. This game felt more like a proof of concept than a full-on experience. There were some great ideas here, and yes, we highlighted them here on this review, but the game just did not hold me like I thought it would. Maybe it's just me, but I wasn't dying to play this after a couple sessions. Maybe once I complete the game fully, I'll come back and do a revisit episode or something, but as of now, I think I'm cool on Legends. If you're going to pick this up, just understand this is not a traditional Pokemon game. It is experimental, but I think if you love Pokemon as a whole, you'll find enjoyment here with this title. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.